All right, what's up, everybody? I'm back from a few days off in a wedding in Nashville. Lovely wedding. Thanks for those who chimed in and asked. Thanks to Gary Hartman, Andrew Wiggins, Justin Fan, a crew of people alongside Mike Gallagher who held down the fort in my absence. All the guys on our projections team have been awesome as well. So I'm good. I'm in a good mood. I'm refreshed. How are you doing, Mike, for this 3-game slate?
Doing great. Yeah, pretty excited for a small slate today. Got all my quotes done for tomorrow's matchups, which is a big accomplishment. But yeah, not too much injury wise here, so we could kind of dig in and talk about some different stuff. Maybe that's not so injury related.
Yeah, there's really not that much. So why don't you kick us off on like the things that we know and the things that we're waiting on?
Yeah, so we've got pull the schedule up here. Yeah, not much, right? And we really have only one questionable that matters, and it's Terrence Mann. Rolled his ankle late on Sunday, was hobbling around pretty good. Some of the beats think he doesn't have much of a chance to play. And this is after they played a back-to-back. Ty Lue said he made a mistake playing Paul George 41 minutes in a back-to-back set, too. So couple that in there. I mean, they could really let these guys go. Lue didn't seem to really care about playing Bledsoe so many minutes. But yeah, no man. You're going to be looking at a little bit of Justice Winslow. Amir Coffey is not in the G League assignment. He should probably get in the mix. Maybe they go really tight. Maybe Luke Kennard gets really high up there. The Spurs have been playing pretty fast. This could be kind of a small ball fest with that, small that way. There's a lot of ways or just because they don't have to buy, they can go bigger too. So, pretty fun matchup for the late one. But Terrence Mann, yeah, we're leaning out right now, which that could kind of shake up the slate with only 3 games.
Yeah, it makes the slate dramatically different. You get a ton of Clippers if you assume Terrence Mann out, just because they've played tighter rotations in the past and they don't have healthy bodies. Like with the combination of the G League and whatnot, you look at the depth chart here, and basically it's Reggie Jackson, it's Justice Winslow, it's Eric Bledsoe, Luke Kennard, that's 4, Paul George is 5, Batum is 6, Coffee 7, Zubac is 8, and Hartenstein's 9. There's not another name on there that's really available unless they activate someone else from the G League. So when you only have 9 players available, you have to run pretty tight rotations just as is. Even if they play,
Jay Scrubb, the best name ever for.
Jay Scrubb would be. He's a guy to watch. He got in some blowout minutes in terms of his availability, but it's a situation when you only have like 9 guys, and as you mentioned, they're willing to play super small. They're willing to load up minutes on these guys. You're going to see opportunities for Bledsoe, Luke Kennard, Batum, all kind of to potentially even get into the 30s alongside Reggie Jackson and Paul George. And we know that also both the Spurs and the Clippers have been willing to play smaller lineups as well, especially the Spurs in the absence of Jakob Poeltl. So you could see like really, really small units out there. The Batum at center stuff for the Clippers, Keldon Johnson at center stuff for the Spurs could even happen. So the games that are going to draw the most interest on this slate from a general basketball watching perspective are certainly going to be, Golden State, Brooklyn at the top. And then Philadelphia, Utah is a spot where Philadelphia's been playing super tight rotations. So people are going to be interested in that. It'll be interesting to see how much people adjust things for the assumption that Mann is out, because it really does change the slate dramatically. If Mann's in, I think you're diving into this situation a little bit, but if he's out, you're playing a ton of Clippers. And so getting this one right is probably going to be the most important decision on the slate, because it's the latest game too. So you can't really move things around. The quote that you shared with me earlier today when I was asking about this and trying to figure out the minutes was from Law Murray at Law Murray VNU. Terrence Mann was still limping and walking slowly when leaving the gym last night due to a left ankle sprain. He's questionable, but I'd be shocked if he plays against the Spurs, especially given the cadence of the Clippers' schedule. Expect more of Amir Coffey and Justice Winslow. So that's the reason that we're leaning out here. And you look, and the Clippers play Thursday. I assume they play Friday as well. They've just got a ton of games like in this condensed window. Yep. So they play Thursday, Friday, Sunday, right? So when are you going to get time off for a guy who's banged up? And that's kind of what the tweet alludes to there. So yeah, that's the big cue on the slate. There's not much else that's really on the injury report from that perspective. There are some known injury situations already that are out. So why don't we kind of start working through those in some new situations? We'll start with Brooklyn, where Joe Harris is out left ankle sprain. His absence last game, we saw the second half. Patty Mills moved into the starting lineup and got up to 31 minutes. We saw Mills was playing those types of minutes early in the season when they were a little bit depleted. But I think this is one where we have a little bit of a different perspective, at least from the betting books, from the props, because we fired off some stuff already on this. Why don't you talk about how you think this impacts the Brooklyn rotation?
Yeah, so the matchup's really important here against the Warriors. Obviously, you're going to do everything you can to stop Stephen Curry. So we know the 4 starters are going to be the same, but Joe Harris, they could go to Patty Mills. I think that they might want to start Javon Carter and put him on staff. We know Carter can kind of fight through screens and kind of run around and pressure him. So I think he's a kind of candidate to start. I don't think they would go jumbo. I mean, there's still definitely a pretty good chance they do start Patty Mills, just because it kind of clicked for them with the way it was working out. But yeah, I think Javon's going to have a pretty big role for this game. They did call up Kessler Edwards. It doesn't really matter, but that was a midday call up. That was interesting to see. But and also, James Johnson, maybe if they go bigger, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to play a little bit more Javon, a little bit of Bembry. Bembry was playing kind of clearly behind Bruce Brown in that second half rotation, which I expect to continue here. But yeah, they'll probably get a little bit smaller here to really try to cut down Steph.
Yeah, I think the big thing to understand is basically, I think the way people are going to think of this is that Joe Harris is a wing, so his minutes are going to get replaced by a wing. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's necessarily correct, because I think you have to understand that Brooklyn's offense is very diverse in the players that it plays. So you can slide pieces around in a lot of different ways. And I think the more important thing that you have to replace from Joe Harris is the spacing on offense and not necessarily the wing defense, because Joe Harris isn't really a wing defender as is. And so when you think about players that can provide a little bit of spacing, Bembry's not really that guy, right? It's more Javon Carter, but mostly Patty Mills. And that's what we saw in the last game as well. And then if you factor an opponent, as you alluded to there as well, where the Warriors are very guard heavy and scoring centric with their offense, with Steph Curry and with Jordan Poole, and the options that would be best suited to pick up minutes to defend those guys, it does make sense that Javon Carter or Patty Mills, but I think Carter for the defense, and I think Mills might play like starters minutes, even if he doesn't start, type thing. And so we took some Bembry unders for our props packages today, and some Javon Carter overs, because we think we have a better read on this rotation than people are likely going to play it. In terms of other injury situations to pay attention
to add to, Carter was a good 3-point shooter last year, and he kind of improved. He's been down this year, but I think he does just enough to give enough shooting. Just one thing, if I could add this in this game that's super tiny, it's that Gary Payton 2 is probable, which isn't really noteworthy, but there was a quote that I just wanted to share really quick when I was listening to Kerr, and he talked a lot about individual defense today, because they're really good team defense and how they're going to need individual defense, and we saw what they did when they went boxing one against Trey and all that stuff. So, you're obviously not going to be like jamming Gary Payton 2 in your lineup, but I feel like he could play kind of a lot. He also had mentioned that Juan Toscano-Anderson is out of the rotation too, so which we kind of saw. They're playing Kuminga now. He talked to Kuminga. He actually compared Kuminga to Kawhi, setting a pretty high bar there. But I just wanted to kind of maybe talk about Payton 2 possibly being a factor in this game.
Yeah, his minutes have been more consistent of late, but obviously he showed like a very low floor coming in, so he's a tough player to project. The whole second unit stuff for Golden State is really tough to project because it's very matchup oriented. So we've got like Peyton, Damian Lee, Otto Porter, Bielitsa, all like 14 to 16-ish minutes. And somebody on any given game can certainly separate from those. If Peyton ends up being the guy, the one thing that I would say is I think that would just kind of lower the overall scoring environment on this game as a whole, because he's not only a very good defender, but provides kind of limited offensive value outside of cutting and rebounding. He's kind of like the Bruce Brown version for the Warriors. But yeah, let's move over to Philadelphia. I see some questions in the chat coming in that are like strategic questions. We can tackle those in the premium content shows, not the free YouTube shows. We don't want to give away too much on strategy on the free stuff. So if you are a subscriber, you will get access. Bring those questions to chat. We can talk about them on the 3-game show tonight. Philadelphia, Danny Green is ruled out alongside Ben Simmons, of course, Matisse Thybulle, Joel Embiid. So once again, Philadelphia really shorthanded. We've seen Doc run these super tight rotations. They're 10-point underdogs on the road in Utah. Utah plays at altitude just like Denver. So it's a place that oftentimes teams will choose to lengthen rotations a little bit because guys just get gassed a little bit when they're not used to playing in the altitude. Doc has told us he's going to extend rotations and then hasn't, and played guys like, upwards of 40 minutes. So it's a really difficult situation, I think, to project the minutes on the whole. Obviously, with Tobias back, they have more ability to spread things a little bit, but we even saw, you're pulling up the Pacers box score. We saw like Paul Reed played 7, Bassey played 4. They were basically like the backups to Drummond. And then we still got another 43 from Maxey. Like the Maxey minutes have just been out of control, and trying to figure out what the right number on him is super, super difficult. And this was a game that they had Danny Green. So I would assume, I assume that Korkmaz slides into the starting lineup. Is that who you think would slide in?
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. He's had some time for his wrist to heal. They had mentioned they wanted to keep his minutes down because of that and just other things. So, they've had, a good week of keeping his minutes down now. So I think it should be kind of in a better spot.
Yeah, I think he starts. I think we see kind of the same main guys, pick up value there with Korkmaz, Niang, Seth Curry a little bit, Shake a little bit. But I'm also a little bit just concerned that the game stays competitive. This is not like you remove Thybulle and you remove Embiid, and it's not the same defensive team from Philadelphia that we've seen, and we've seen them struggling of late with teams that are well below the quality of Utah, and Utah's a very good team at home. So it's a tough situation to project the Philadelphia minutes for me, but it's one of those situations where the range of outcomes are kind of wider to the high end than the low end, honestly, for some of these Philadelphia guys, because I'm trying to bake in risk. But how do you see Philadelphia's rotation kind of shaking out without Danny Green?
Good use of the word shake. Yeah. So the other question to add to it too is does Isaiah Joe play? He didn't play, was available in the last one. Just got cleared from COVID in that game, so that was really his first available game. So yeah, we think he could. He's like kind of the big question mark here. So if he plays, then you're talking about Shake having a cap. Korkmaz wouldn't go crazy. I don't think it really affects Maxey. Doc will play Maxey a ton. They held him out of the gym because he was tired, and they played him 43 minutes next game, or whatever it was. So he'll look pretty good. They could play Yang. I think they may not get away going tiny against Gobert and Whiteside as well. So Yang's minutes may not be quite as attractive as we've been seeing. But then again, like Paul Reed doesn't really solve that issue either. So they probably do revenge game for Yang as well too. But yeah, I'm pretty much on board with most of that stuff. And I just want to add, Utah's been pretty bad. They've lost 4 of their last 5, including 2 home losses to the Pacers and then a Jimmy-less Miami team. And they were getting beat down in that game for most of it until they made a late run. But I think this game should be pretty close. Not one I would bet just because, as you said, the Sixers aren't quite healthy and they are rested.
10 points is a lot of points if you think the game's going to be close, Mike.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not betting that one. I got better bets that we're making today. But I think we're pretty much going to expect a pretty tight rotation. The minutes could get up there too, but I don't think Shake's going to have the highest upside just because Maxey could take all the minutes right now. Yeah, I might need to revisit some of this Philadelphia stuff because the more that I think about it, I think we have Maxey at 35, and it's probably a little bit low. Yeah, I think so.
So I probably will bump him a little bit further, but it's a tough team to project. On the Utah side of the equation, Rudy Gay's still out.
Pull up Maxey's minutes. I mean, he's hitting upper 30s, 40s pretty much consistently.
I don't know what to put. I guess he probably should be 38. Yeah, it's just such a tough.
I mean, even with the blow, I think 37 definitely gets it done.
I guess there's no games in there that are really representative of an actual blowout. I guess the Atlanta game where he played 25, but that's way back when they were healthy, I think.
That's when they had Thybulle and really everyone.
Yeah, so different situation there for sure. On the Utah side, Jared Butler and Rudy Gay are out. That's not a big surprise. So really, there's nothing to really monitor there. And then the San Antonio side, Jakob Poeltl remains out. And all the guys that have been like Landale and Primo and Wieskamp, all those guys are still out. So the rotation should be pretty squared away there. I don't think there's too much else to say. I don't think there's too much else to really monitor from an injury perspective on this slate. It should be pretty quiet, but I think that Terrence Mann news is just going to really like shape the slate in a really substantial way. And so if you are subscribed to us, you know that we've already kind of taken a stance on this and projected Terrence Mann out. We do take stands on these things when we feel that basically our threshold is if we feel like the player should be listed as doubtful, but they are listed as questionable, meaning that they have 75% chance of not playing. That's basically kind of the way that we read things.
If I could add one thing too, Serge Ibaka, man, was called questionable, and then he missed like months. Yep. So, I mean, the Clippers questionable tag is pretty much, last year. Yeah, Clippers questionable tag is the most questionable tag.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that I'm sure you guys all enjoyed having Justin on the show on Friday as well. It's the stuff that guys like Justin and Mike really understand because they grind this stuff all day and all season long. So they have a good lean on kind of what teams are, how teams view the questionable tag, which is really, really important and useful information. All right. I don't think we have too much else to go, so we'll get out of here. Real quick slate. Whenever we have these, we'll take advantage of them and be in and out with the injury show. We'll be back tomorrow with another massive slate. I think it's like 11, something like that.
Big injuries, man.
We got another big one. The show tomorrow will make up for the time on this one. But thank you guys for tuning in on this show. If you want to give us a support, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to thumbs up the videos. That helps get us all the extra, attention that we need to continue to grow this product and grow this free content that we're giving out for you guys. If you're not subscribed, make sure to check out a subscription to Established Run in-season DFS content. We've got projections. We've got Mike's top plays. We've got the live shows each and every weekday to get you set. And apparently Gary Hartman's been giving away fire on those live shows in my absence, so I got to come back with some tonight. And I will. We'll have it ready for you with the flag plants and all. Tonight at 5:30 Eastern. Look forward to seeing you guys then. Those of you who are not subscribed, we'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern for another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Take care, everybody.